Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Please rise for Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ask for a moment of silence, please.
Before you go there, you had lost another longtime resident of Tonganoxie, Mr. Elmer Tanking, passed away. He was past post commander down at the VFW, and he was very spent a lot of time on overseeing the building of the VFW.
Wow,
building. So
it's a nice facility.
Good man.
Sorry to hear that. Okay, we'll go back a moment of silence, please. Okay, thank you. Well, welcome everybody that's here. Everybody's watching or will be watching. Next on is roll call. We'll be starting with Commissioner Cos.
Here.
Here. Commissioner Doug Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Mike Stephen.
Here.
Commissioner Jeff Culberson.
Here.
All right, all present. I don't believe there was any public comment on my list. So, seeing none, I'll go to administrative business. Mark? Commissioners?
I just visited with Representative Lance Neely yesterday, and he's going to check in, see where our FEMA money's at.
Good.
Got a commitment there.
Good.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get that before the budget.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah. Just got to keep in front of them.
How much is the FEMA money total? About
About $500,000, isn't it?
I thought it was 500, yeah.
About $500,000.
so $750,000 probably.
That'd be helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, it would. Yeah, it would. Okay. Any other commissioners? Okay, if not, I'll move on. Anyone need to go into a consent agenda? Anyone need to remove anything from the consent agenda? If not,
Just want you to look at the page 2 on there, I believe, just how much money we spent in autopsies last month.
$15,000. Yeah, another unfunded state mandate.
From the state of Kansas. The state of Kansas, I think, should be paying.
And I don't think a lot of people understand when they look at the mill levies and they look at the breakdown of whose mill levy is how much, and you look at the county's mill levy, and if the average person pays about 25% of their taxes to the county's mill levy, I'm working on a number right now to come up with how much of the county's budget is state unfunded mandates, and I'm going to say it's about half. So half of our 25% mill levy that everybody's paying to the county is because the state mandates that we spend all these expenditures without paying for it. So the county has to pay for it. They say you have to do this. You have to do autopsies. You have to pay for the autopsies. It's a state statute.
wow.
But it comes out of the county budget. So really, if you break down the county's mill levy, about half of it is state unfunded mandates.
Court-appointed attorneys.
Yeah, the list goes on. I'm working on the list right now because it's going to be an interesting number to see how much of our budget is actually state unfunded mandates.
And I think we also need to continue to understand that there are certain things within our budget that we don't control. We don't control the sheriff's budget, and we don't control the county attorney's budget. That those are budgets that are statutory
By law,
By law.
they have to be funded.
and that those are safety issues, that have to be, they have to fund certain things that by law they have to fulfill obligations, and that we fund those based on their needs.
Yeah,
Nobody's talking about how much the state budget has increased.
Right.
And the state doesn't have to remain revenue neutral. They exempted themselves from that statute.
exactly.
And
One concern I have is that people say, well, you're just passing the buck because you don't want to take responsibility because you don't. And it's really not that. It's really we're telling you the truth.
And we're working on how to actually fix the problems because it's been passed down over the years until finally somebody's understanding where the problem is.
And it is mandates. It's unfunded mandates from the state and even on occasion, the federal government. I mean, it's mandates, and we are the local level of government. We have to meet that.
And look at the last 2 years, the money that's been taken into the state for whatever they choose to do with. We don't have that luxury, you know. I get what everybody's saying. Okay.
I'm sorry, I got off.
No, that's all right. It gets us all going. We start on that. Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Any comments on that still? Mr. Cos?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Stephen?
Aye.
Mr. Culberson?
Did we make a motion?
I thought you did.
I thought you did.
I started to.
Well, then let's do it again.
So let's back up. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we
I'm
accept
so
the
used to
consent
you
agenda.
doing it, Jeff.
I said everything but that.
Okay.
Then I'll second it.
Let's try again.
Aye.
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 Okay. Thanks for keeping us in check. You guys can't be doing that as a chair. Well, you have to.
Well,
Anyway.
we get to start talking about that.
We're just testing. We're just testing you, Mike.
We don't want you to be flustered.
I didn't pass. Okay. All righty. Formal board action. Consider a motion to approve the recommendations of the contracted engineer correct surface failures on the roadway of Emerald Estates subdivision. Warrenville.
Morning, Commissioners. Today for your consideration is a compromise between the contracted county engineering recommendation of a 2-inch mill and overlay in the south cul-de-sac of the subdivision and a slurry seal for the remainder of the roadway to correct surface failures in the contractor's original proposed fog seal that was their proposed remediation effort. The pavement engineer for Olson did not recommend acceptance of the roadway in the recently constructed Emerald Estates due to the raveling of the surface. There were some surface failures where the gravel was loose at the surface, and you could actually broom that first. Some sections, especially in that south cul-de-sac, where the surface of the roadway could have been broomed off. It looked like it had not adhered correctly to the sub-asphalt. It did not have enough oil or something in it that caused the failures. I think that in combination of this consideration, I think we also need to possibly look at some future remediation efforts in order to correct issues that we've had on some of these previous subdivisions with the presence of an inspector on site during these type of activities with the subdivisions that the county may maintain. But that's something for a future work session that could be discussed. I guess I'll open it up to the board and try to answer the questions you may have.
Did they do the fog seal or slurry seal on that, the other one, Eagle Crossing?
No, this is the same type of application, but in that instance, the developer and the contractor, they desired to pull building permits immediately. They were waiting to start construction. And so Vance Brothers had made the recommendation at the time, who had bid the work for them, that they did not want to do the work until 60% of the homes had been constructed. And so they did not do it at the time. We put it under a bond, and with their bidding, and we had a cash bond for that work to be completed. And so, no, it has not been done. They have until the end of this construction window of 2022 to get that in place. They are well past the 60% mark of the homes, but we still are awaiting that application.
Well, I was in there a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and the road looked pretty good. I thought they'd already did it. They haven't done it.
They haven't done it.
Maybe it's so hot, maybe. I just assumed they did it.
Mark, do you have anything on this?
Commissioners, this is a very similar process to the one that Commissioner Smith just brought up. The developer and I believe the contractor have found this agreement acceptable.
Yes.
So this is a compromise that Mr. Knoll and myself have discussed. We felt comfortable with it. While it's not ideal, we do believe it's a reasonable solution.
Okay.
And
Any other commissioners?
I think one thing he's referring to is that we'll be bringing a policy change to you here in the near future that will require these developments to have a county approved inspector on
Yeah,
site.
yeah.
Because this is the second subdivision
Yeah.
where we're having this problem.
Yeah, that's money well spent, I think.
So are you saying they can't pull building permits till they get this?
They don't desire to pull building permits. This developer wants to. There's no immediate construction.
Oh, okay.
And so they want to do this work prior to the pulling of any building permits. This is also considerably smaller number of lots than the last subdivision. I'd say half, I believe, of the last subdivision. And so the number of homes that would be built on this are quite a bit less, but they have no immediate construction plans. So they want to do this immediately prior to any construction.
Oh, okay.
And Vance Brothers has agreed to that.
Interest rate's going to take another bump this week. I don't think we're going to have to be worried about a whole lot of building permits.
Okay. Any other commissioners have any?
No.
Okay, I'll take a motion, please. Anybody want to do it? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation of the contracted engineer to correct surface failures on the Roadway of Emerald Estates subdivision.
Second.
Motion and second. Any more discussion? Commissioner Cos?
Aye.
I vote aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
Commissioner Culberson?
Aye.
It's passed, okay.
I was out there last. Did they do this in December, November? I think I was out there after that.
Okay. Okay. Item B, consider a motion to approve the purchase of two Caterpillar I can't even pronounce that. Dynamic rubber tire rollers from Foley Equipment in amount not to exceed $214,668. Quick go. I do too.
$4,000.
Yeah. So, like everything else, these have increased in price over the past 3 years. But we did, unlike some of the previous bidding processes where we've struggled to receive bids, we did receive multiple bids on this piece of machinery. We had 3 that met bid specifications and 1 that did not meet bid specifications. The replacement machines would replace our current 2005 model that depreciated out in 2017, and also a 2010 model that depreciated out last year. So the existing equipment has fully depreciated out, and then when we do finally receive these machines, because availability is of the exact delivery time frame may be not for another 6 to 9 months, then we would sell the ones on Purple Wave.
Bill, these, I've noticed, just to make sure everybody's aware, these were budgeted item. This is a budgeted item.
These were actually budgeted. That's why I was talking about the depreciation schedule.
Yep.
It was not bid when they were depreciated out, and so they should have on the depreciation schedule been bid at the end of the depreciation to replace. So they had the money set aside in 2017 and 2021 in order to be replaced. So this money is sitting in equipment reserve,
Okay.
and what we're trying to do is replace these machines prior to some of that money being taken away with maintenance costs.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at, I say that every once in a while, because I want folks to know that the county commissioner, along with the staff and the county administrator, we don't surprise. These are things that we budgeted out, that we so nobody has to take a hit on their taxes or anything like that when you do your when you do your budget the correct way and you do 5 and 10 years out. So that's when I say that, I know it's budget. I just want everybody else to know that too.
And that it was an amortization schedule
Right.
for replacement
Right.
of it. Or yes, you could depreciation, but that's kind of an IRS
Yeah.
term.
Yeah.
We were
Just amortized
So-
over the year.
So what you're saying is the county's been proactive.
That's in so many words, yeah, Mike.
We've been doing GASB 34 before there was GASB 34.
Yeah.
Was it 34?
Yep. You are correct.
And that's a budgeting term for people to do audits on. The state requires to a certain degree. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the purchase of 2 Caterpillar rubber tire rollers from Foley Equipment in the amount not to exceed $214,668.
I'll second it. Any more discussion? Commissioner Cos?
Aye.
I vote aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
Commissioner Culberson?
Aye.
Next item, Consider a motion to approve the purchase of 2 case steel drum asphalt compactors from VOP Equipment Share Company in the amount not to exceed $269,598. Bill?
Yes, Commissioners, for your consideration today, we do have those 2 replacements like we had just discussed. The one model is a 1986 model that has, on a 5 or 10 year depreciation, has obviously depreciated fully out and amortized.
Is that the one that just broke?
What?
Is that the one that just broke?
Yeah, that one's broke several times, and so it needs to be replaced.
Oh, I went and picked it up when it was new.
Few years there, Doug.
Yeah, Berry Tractor Company out of Topeka.
Yeah. So it's met its 10-year expected lifespan for replacement.
It wasn't new. It was a
Certified
rental.
Yeah.
It wasn't new when we got it.
Was that 10 years ago?
Huh?
Was that 10 years ago?
No,
Oh,
30,
1986.
40,
I graduated from high school.
35 years ago.
We got our use out of it, I guess. So,
Yeah, so the other one's a 2010 model that was on a 5-year set-aside schedule for the budgeting purposes and was eligible for replacement in 2015. And then once again, when we do receive these replacement machines, we will go ahead and put the existing machines on Purple Wave.
And if you notice, they ran them longer than the depreciation schedule.
That's what I'm saying.
They stretched it out.
Yeah. Take care of the equipment, make it last, save the tax dollars. Okay, you need.
Mr. Chairman, I move
Okay.
that we approve the purchase of 2 case steel drum asphalt compactors from VLP Equipment in the amount not to exceed $269,598.
Second.
Motion and second. Any more discussion?
Since they're going to get
Go
used.
ahead.
One
Go
quick.
ahead, Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
I wanted to second it since they're going to get used in my district probably next. So
Oh, okay.
Okay, Mike.
Well, that's the plan.
Are these made in the United States, assembled in the United States? Do we know?
Well, made in the United States, I can't say for sure. We do have assembled in the United States often in our bid specifications, but currently you can't hardly get anything that's completely made in the United States. Even Caterpillar, which is a United States company, they make a lot of their equipment in Brazil. And so,
Yeah, it seemed like we, just a few years ago, had more of an emphasis on moving that direction, but not anymore.
what we had
Building things in the United States.
Yeah, well, we had assembled in the United States in a lot of our bid specifications 2 years ago, and we were receiving, even if they were American companies, we were receiving no bids or one bid because there's almost no equipment like a grader. You can only buy John Deere if you're going to buy in the United States. So
I don't think Billy is directing that towards you. I think what he was saying is we'd sure like to see the companies back in the U.S. produce.
Well, I understand, but it is something we've used.
Yeah, I know. I understand.
That's kind of out of the county commission.
Wait for a mandate.
We're just throwing it in there,
All right. Stay in your lane, guys. That's all I can say.
Anything else, Mike?
That's it.
Okay.
We're actually not even buying in the state of Kansas. Our dealers are in Missouri, right? Or our districts.
Well, not Caterpillar. Caterpillar's coming out of Topeka, but
These are.
yeah, we've got a Topeka salesman for Caterpillar.
Okay.
But
Well, it used to be we had Kansas City.
yeah, they've got us coming out of.
Okay, well, that's good. At least
You go,
the state
Bill.
can get some money out of
What's
it.
that?
You go, Bill.
Did you make a motion on this already?
Yep, he tried.
it started to.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah, I think so now.
Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the purchase of 2 case steel drum asphalt compactors from VLP.
Yeah,
Oh, it is-
you
there
made
is a motion.
You
Okay.
seconded because you wanted to be able to do it in your
Okay.
district.
We're just having a hard time today.
You already had it there.
struggling up
Losing
here.
control. Okay. There was a motion and
Okay,
a second.
we've got a motion and a
We
second.
had further discussion.
Okay.
Aye.
And a third.
Aye. Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens.
Aye.
Commissioner Culberson.
Aye.
Was I supposed to put that in my motion?
Sheesh.
That these first be used in Commissioner Culberson's district?
Yeah.
No.
That's what I was trying to get in there.
Okay.
That's what threw me up. Okay. Moving on.
We'll do a little
It's obviously
parade.
I've lost control. Presentation and discussions, quarterly report. Council on Aging, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Morning.
Great things are happening at the Council on Aging. So many things have changed even in the last 2 weeks from this report. So I'm sure you saw the numbers on the report where we're trending exactly as we did last year for Meals on Wheels. We've served over 46,000 meals so far through Q2. And I was here earlier talking about that meal price increase, and so that will go into effect in October. For transportation, we're super excited. In Q2, we got 3 new vehicles, 2 Ford Transits and a Chrysler Journey. In the last 2 weeks, we've gotten 3 more. These were vehicles that were ordered in the fall and winter of 2020 that are just coming in, and they look slick with the new logo. And seems like we're driving one onto the lot and one's coming off. So we're just about ready to have that fleet entirely flipped. So that's been great. We're trending on budget, right where we should be at this point in the year. One of the things we're most excited about, however, is at the time that I wrote this report, we'd seen 227 new people we'd never seen before walk through the door since January. About 40% of them are 50 to 69. And as soon as I sent this over, 12 new people walked in for one activity that we'd never seen. So this week we're at the fair, have a booth in the admin building, really trying to work to gather support and extend our reach by a younger audience, talking to kids about their grandparents, talking to kids about their parents, and getting the word out there about what we do at the Council on Aging. One of our fundraising goals for this year was to bring in an extra $100,000. So far, we've received 9 of 11 grants that we've written, so that's about $74,000. And our fundraisers this year have already brought in $26,000, so we've exceeded that goal and still are waiting on 2 grants and 1 big fundraiser in October for Meals on Wheels. So we're pretty tickled about that and that effort. And again, those fundraisers, we really worked this year to broaden that reach. So we had a poker run, made some really great friends on motorcycles that did our poker run for us one weekend and then turned around and came to our Meals on Wheels benefit the next week, and are gearing up to do that again for us next year. So a broader base of our audience. We've also been working on strategies to operate more efficiently and more effectively. So taking some fixed routes for transportation to the grocery store, putting more people in a vehicle for those kinds of trips, working on some cost-saving measures, adding some additional volunteers to reduce the use of county vehicles for some of our meal routes, things like that, because gas has been an issue. We've significantly reduced the number of trips we're taking out of the county to Kansas City for medical, but as soon as we take those off the books, we get more in-county trips for medical that we're adding. Working on our shift to be digital and reduce our paper footprint. That's a struggle some days, but we're working on that. And then we're super excited to move to Cushing. I was pressing Aaron for a date when we can get in the door, but we've started that packing process and are working there. I was over there the other day, and we're tickled to see there's carpet and the paint's on the walls and things like that. So we're hoping to be in there October 1st. No pressure, Aaron.
Right.
We mind you.
So that's what's happening at the Council on Aging.
Okay. Aaron, we won't ask you anything.
Hot seat.
Not yet.
You got the ribbon cutting
Get scissors.
ceremony ready for that?
October 1. Yeah, we're excited.
Okay.
Connie, did you get a total on what the benefit was down at Haymarket?
Yeah, all in, I think we were $18,600 and some change.
Oh, good.
Wow.
And then the additional funds we have are already for our fall fundraiser. So,
Cool beans.
That's great.
yeah, we had a great time.
Yeah. Questions or comments, started?
No, I'm ready. Just getting ready. I'm going to go mark my calendar as soon as we leave here. October 1st.
When you talk about packing your boxes, that's exciting times. You're getting
It is.
close, right?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Now let's get Aaron's date.
Yeah. That's what I was looking at him shaking his head. Thank you, guys.
Sure.
Thanks, Connie.
Thank you.
Okay, building and grounds, come on down. Good morning. Morning, Aaron.
Morning, Commissioners.
That seat warm?
Yeah. Okay, well, let's start with the construction schedule goal for Cushing has always been middle of September, beginning of October. With furniture being ordered and we are starting to have it staged downstairs, the goal is to finish construction, sign off on areas, move furniture into those areas, have those areas cordoned off. October 1st is a strong goal. I'm not sure exactly how. That is a very optimistic goal. Let's shoot for end of September construction finishes and we move in October. That's my goal. So now we'll go to the rest of my quarterly since we had to reiterate that one.
It's a good try, Connie.
She's leaving.
The summer of 22 has been brutal for us on air conditioners. I've replaced 2 mini splits, a fan replacement motor, and then I have 3 units that are currently down at the health department. Those units at the health department, we have located replacements, which we're also on a depreciation scale, and that will come out of capital for our budget. Luckily enough, instead of a 36-week time that we thought we were going to wait for those 2, we have located them and they will be shipped to us and installed hopefully next week. The 3rd unit that went down will get a replacement compressor following week, but we've been able to maintain, as that building has 13 units on the top of its roof, we've been able to maintain a fairly comfortable temperature. Luckily, the weather kicked that 105 down a little bit for us, so it was a little bit easier for us. We will be getting those replaced. Community Corrections had an AC fan coil go out on their older unit, not the new unit. We replaced that. Let's see. Cushing Building. Bill and I met with the KDOT Transit on our first interview. I don't know if you guys know how their pace works, but we are shooting for an 18-month turnaround from the state on their quick pace of we'll design it and work with you on that. Connie is much more optimistic of can we get that done in 6 months? The answer to that is no, not working with the state. K-State Extension, Crisis Stabilization, as well as our Council on Aging, all demo are complete. Crisis Stabilization, Guidance Center wanted to move some walls around and flip-flop some areas that would just work better for themselves. The changes did come with a change order. That change order, we did not foot the bill. They decided they wanted to change it. They can pay for it. And Mark and I both stood strong on that. They had no problem picking up the bill for it. K-State Extension area, we had some wall issue on the backside where we had some moisture coming in. We came up with a plan for how to alleviate that with staying in our budgets and not having any issues on water infiltration on the backside wall. Third floor, Ross Construction has paused with their construction at this current point with Acadia, as Acadia had purchased Signature Health, and they're trying to figure out exactly how far they're going to go and what they're going to do on that. But, in a side note, they did make 3 months' worth of payments all in one shot, which that will take. Court Services next door wanted a wall opened up to create a lobby area for Mr. Tom Weiser's area. That is about complete, and downstairs the HR office used to have a break room, and now they have an extra office for your HR director. That was our quarter 2 for buildings and grounds.
Is that budgeted?
Huh?
those renovations budgeted? How was that?
The court services are paying for theirs. The Steve Crossland and Judge Kane are footing the bills for those. The downstairs one was a door and some interior stuff, and then we used some of our carpet money that we had since we had to remove the sink and that in there and carpeted that area, and that came out of budgeted items that I had budgeted for carpet for the courthouse. I just reallocated where it was going to go.
Okay.
So.
And then one question on the community corrections, the air conditioning. Was that a recent replacement?
No, we had a recent replacement, and that one has 2 mini splits downstairs, and then it has 2 larger units upstairs and a mini split upstairs. One of the older units that was upstairs, the last one, decided that it wanted the fan unit to go out on it, so we replaced that in-house.
Yeah, I was just curious because I was at a meeting there, last week for the adult community corrections in that one conference room.
Mm-hmm. Downstairs conference room or upstairs?
Upstairs where the offices are.
Okay.
And it was stifling in that room. I mean, it was like
the reason you were warm on the backside, and that is, okay, up front in the front office has a mini split, and when it was 105 outside, they were running that mini split. The problem is when you run that mini split and it kicks out 64-degree air, and your thermostat sits on the opposite side of that controls the back side of the building, your temperature reading on your thermostat is not true to where it's actually servicing. And we had that conversation with Miss Berry and those guys about, hey, if you kick this mini split on to 65 and it's blowing out 65-degree cold air right on that, you're not getting a true reading onto the area that you're actually trying to cool.
Yeah, because it was just, I mean, those of us that were sitting in that meeting, I mean, it was like, the people sitting in there were like, whoa. I mean, after about an hour, we were all sweating, and it was like that.
We've looked at a 23 option on rerouting the thermostat controls for the back area since they put that doorway in and blocked that off. We've looked at it moving it back. Previously, when it was a jail, all the thermostats set up close so that nobody could mess with them. We're looking at possible ways in 23 to reroute it to the backside so the backside can control it.
It was pretty funny. Judge Huckleman was removing his tie and loosening his collar.
Seemed like a good reason to call that meeting shorter.
That's what I was thinking, Mark.
No, I was just checking to see if that was at that timing.
There was a discussion of why the back was so warm, and I had a conversation with Jamie as well as Miss Berry over there about, hey guys, if you do this, you're going to fry these people, and vice versa in the wintertime, you're going to cook them.
Freeze, right? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thanks.
All righty. Any other questions?
Did you say the contractor was going to eat the change order?
On which one?
You said something about a change order at the contractor.
Crisis stabilization made a change. The Guidance Center decided they wanted to make some changes, and since we're in a partnership with them on that, and we signed off on the plans and they signed off on the plans, if I want to change the plans, then I should eat the cost.
Right.
And that's the conversation we had, and Keith was completely understanding to it. The change order cost came out. Keith from the Guidance Center emailed back and forth with both of us that since he had engaged the change order, he would pay for them.
Oh, I thought you meant the contractor.
No,
I have had the contractor as well as ACI Bolin eat 2 change orders because of communication errors. Well, I'm diligently making sure that we don't spend any more money.
Yeah, I think things are going great.
That's a pretty good deal.
Especially that October 1st.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron.
Public Works. Hey, Bill.
You're back.
All right. So we'll start with Road and Bridge here quickly. Try to move through this at a decent pace. So Road and Bridge, obviously we hauled a lot of rock. We're going through a lot of the spring months, and so we hauled 44,000 tons of rock over the last quarter. We did haul some additional haydite in for storage for this year's chip and seal season. We hauled in 352 tons of that. We did start patching and doing some asphalt work over this quarter, so we hauled 5,579 tons of asphalt. And so we spread that over different areas, but primarily that would have been patching that was used. We used 3,304 gallons of oil, and we did start patching on April 26th. We replaced 32 entrance culverts and 18 crossroad culverts. At the time this was printed, we were fully staffed last Thursday. That is no longer the case. As you know, staffing at the road department has been a very fluid situation. But there for a period of 10 days, we were fully staffed, and it was the first time we had been fully staffed in quite a long time. The staffing issues that we were experiencing, especially in the second half of 2020, have slowed, and we are starting to get to a point where we are maintaining a fairly decent staff level with a little bit of a reduced turnover. We do have a couple retirements coming up that'll be hard to replace, as those guys have been there a really long time, but as things go, we will do our best to move folks into those positions and get them trained up as quickly as possible. From a staffing perspective downstairs, I'll get to it later, but we do still have one empty position. The project engineer position has not been filled. To date, we've had one qualified applicant that we did interview who was a very good candidate that did not accept the position. And we also had a county surveyor who we'll get to, but he starts today. So we still have one staff downstairs that does need to be filled. Noxious weed. Chemical sales are down slightly from 2021, which is not unexpected. The price of chemicals, the way that they are, having gone up so much over the course of the last 12 months. Our budget for that department is not just obliterated from a combination of two factors. One, we pre-purchased as much as we possibly could at the end of last year and stored it through the winter, which saved us a bunch of money on this ends 240 and different purchases that we had to make. And then also with the number of purchases being down slightly, that's helped out some too. But that's also, Jeff, to your list of state-mandated items. The cost share program at Noxious Weed is a state-mandated item, so every gallon of chemical we sell does cost the county money, as well as what we spray on the right-of-ways.
And the list continues.
25%.
So, as of July 22nd, all the paved roads have been mowed. We've had quite a bit of issues. I know we've had this conversation at the end of last year, and we made efforts to bid equipment and try to get more mowing equipment in here. It's one of the things we do get some of the larger number of complaints about is we need to mow the right-of-ways as much as possible and get them out there. But like everything else, we haven't received our equipment that we purchased 12 months ago. So we are continuously checking on that equipment, but we have been down to one tractor various times throughout this year, mowing the entire county, over 700 miles of roadway. So it has been fairly slow going. We hope to improve upon that, obviously, and continue to get out there and mow. We'll mow all the way through the fall and into the winter until there's snow and try to get the right-of-ways mowed back. We are expecting delivery at the end of August of another pull-behind mower and another boom mower. So looking forward to receiving those, but in August things kind of have quit growing, so we'll be playing catch-up at that point. For most of the year, we've had the one mower and a skid loader out with a brush hog on it, mowing right away. So with projects, we have a lot of projects going on. As you guys are aware, we have the 158th Street project that Lina Weaver Construction is completing. We are continuing on schedule. They are behind schedule of the original release schedule, but they are still on schedule to complete the project prior to their contractual obligation. The project obviously had the substantial change order. We had proof rolled most of the site. We proof rolled it from K32 up to I-70, which is about 1.75 miles of the site. Doing it the way that we prescribed change order amount of the $300,000 approved is $182,076. So right now we're sitting well underneath that $300,000 change order, and obviously we're $600,000 underneath some of the other proposed options. It appears to be working well, but right now they are, as of yesterday, they were back out cement treating the section of roadway near Luxie Lane. So obviously we were getting a lot of calls from that brand new subdivision. Most of the calls have been in that general section of roadway because we have a lot of very nice brand new houses that people have just moved into, and now they're experiencing a completely torn up roadway. So as that project progresses, we're looking forward to having pavement start to go down on the South Mile in the coming week and a half to 2 weeks, and hopefully we'll be moving along and getting that project completed on time. K45, the bridge replacement project in Kickapoo Township, that was the 50-50 cost share grant with the Watershed Institute, was completed the last quarter. That bridge is now open. It was only down for probably 60 days. It was a very quick project, went very well. We are still waiting reimbursement from the Watershed Institute. Their processes are slow, like a lot of non-for-profit organizations, but we expect that to come in the coming weeks. And I'm glad that that project was done on time and on budget. So HP 19 is ongoing. Ebert Construction is out working on that. It is the large bridge over Stranger Creek. They've completed their piers and abutments and are starting on the deck. The project has not had any significant setbacks and is continuing on schedule and without change orders. We do have the bridges F46 and E18. They're the Benish design bridges that are being constructed by Donlinger and Sons Construction. We're very happy with that contractor. They have worked well with us. You know, the issues that we've had with the plans with Benish that Benish has produced. But the F46 site on 166th Street north of US 24 is an extremely tight site with the city's force main sewer line, overhead power, overhead cable, 2 water lines, a gas line, some service lines. So that bridge is fitting in there without relocating of those utilities. That's why we were able to immediately move forward with ARPA funds. But it is within feet of many of those lines. And so they are doing a very good job of not hitting those. In fact, they're pretty much done with all of the piles for the piers and the wing walls. E18 is a haunch slab bridge. They're south of Easton. It's moving along on schedule. They had a little bit of a slowdown. They had to drive their false work piles down almost as far as their actual piles, their steel beams. They went down further than any bridge they had ever constructed. They had to keep splicing them together, and they went down 35 feet before they hit refusal. Usually you'd have friction just from only had to hit a 6-ton load bearing, but usually you'd have friction just from the length of the pine beams, but that soil type is apparently doesn't have a lot of friction because they just never hit refusal of the 6 tons. So that slowed them down about a week to get the false work built, but they are currently tying steel on the deck, and they had the deck as of Friday last week. They had the deck false work completely constructed. So they were going to deliver steel today and tie it tomorrow. So that project's on schedule and without change orders as well. We have a bunch of bridge projects under design. ST100 on Fairmount Road, E48 out on 251st Street. In Easton Township, we have Tonganoxie's High Risk Rural Roads Grant that we're expecting by Labor Day to have a plan set for that. That's the 9010 cost share grant from Stranger Creek to the city of Tonganoxie. County Route 30, we had a pre-construction utility relocation meeting. And so all of the utilities have been notified. We had that meeting in the basement. I think it works well to have the utilities come in and meet in person. The main issue is with the water line. We have a phone line and a water line that are the two possible conflicts, and most of the water line conflicts are service lines. We do have one crossing and 12 service lines, and then and they don't know where their water line is, and haven't potholed it to date down by a box culvert. So we are still working with Rural Water District number 9 in order to try to get that alleviated, but we're going to continue on. Luckily, there's only 2 power poles that need to be lowered or relocated, which we had a Free State give us an estimated cost of $12,500 for that. So that's a huge transmission line.
Right.
So if we had to move a lot of it, the cost of that could really significantly increase, which is something we need to think about as we move forward into design on the next 4 miles as we go north.
Well, the south end's got rocks stacked around the poles.
Yeah. And there's only 2 poles, and they're at the south end, so we should be able to keep moving on that. We have 4 bridges under design with Finney and Turnipseed, ST25, HP36, and K19. Over the last quarter, we did send out RFPs and have a selection committee and executed the design contracts for those. The topos on those have started for the field work, and we should see by late fall, early winter, the plans for those. Of those, we're trying to get at least 3 of the 4 bridges constructed next year, which are already in our CIP. We have the large box culvert project, and also just a large corrugated metal pipe project that MHS is in design on currently. In that project, we have 14 different structures that are being replaced, hopefully with ARPA funds. Of those, 6 of them are culverts that are round culverts, and 8 of them are box culverts. And so we are trying to have them design those in a low-cost, very quick replacement schedule with some sort of precast or pre-manufactured steel structure that can be limit the amount of time that the road's closed. 2 of those are on Eisenhower Road, out west of Tonganoxie Road, and so some of them are not all on gravel roads. We anticipate to contract the replacement of 8 of them, and 6 of them we believe that we can install with county crews. And so the regular, up to maybe even a 10-foot corrugated metal pipe, we can put in with a county crew, but once we get into a box culvert or some sort of arch culvert with spread footings, we would anticipate contracting that work. But we will have a lot of acquisition. We'll have to acquire some drainage easements or some additional right-of-way on several of those structures because the existing structures had no additional easements. And so the organization of 14 different locations is going to be fairly extensive. MHS was contracted for the inspection as part of the design contract for those. The 2022 biannual bridge inspections were completed during the last quarter. Those were completed with Finney and Turnipseed. As you know, the vast majority of our bridges had sufficiency ratings decreased on them. They had been stagnant, or some of them had actually increased over time with a previous inspection firm. And so I think we kind of had a reality check of this is where we truly stand currently with our bridge inventory. Obviously, you guys have heard about that in the past because we put 3 of those structures into immediate design for replacement. So we have not received the paper copy of it, but they have input all of our information into the KDOT portal, and we have access to the electronic documents anytime. The next time that we have a meeting with Finney and Turnipseed in person, I'm sure they'll just drop off the paper copies for us to put in our files. The Regional Transportation Capital Improvement Plan has kicked off. Last week we had our first meeting with the advisory board of that group, and then yesterday we had a branding meeting in order to have a group meeting discussing how that project's going to be branded and how it will be presented to the public with the public-facing website. And so both of those meetings were successful, and that project's going to ramp up quickly, and you guys will have an opportunity to meet with Finney and Turnipseed. Everybody's going to get an opportunity to rate their priorities for projects, both yourself and elected city council members of each city. And so we'll see how we'll compile all of that information and bring it back together and have public hearings. And so that project over the next 6 months is going to be quite a bit of work. We're really looking forward to it. I think it's a great opportunity for the cities and the counties to work together and collaborate with KDOT and the Mid-America Regional Council, and hopefully have a collaborative effort moving forward to try to get funding for some of these large federal or KDOT projects. So hopefully that can be very successful. We received a draft copy of our local road safety plan, which was a high-risk rural roads grant for 100% funding. I believe that was about a $60,000 study. Trans Systems finally did produce that. They're about a year and a half behind schedule, but we do have a draft copy of the local road safety plan that we are returning comments on, and hopefully over the next 6 months or so, they'll return us the final draft copy of that. But we do have an initial draft in hand that's pretty complete. I mean, it's a pretty boilerplate when it comes to a lot of the narratives within those. They did identify the 10 most accident-prone locations in the county and what measures could be taken to fix those. Aaron already touched on the transit grant, the parking lot at Cushing, the cost share program. We did write and submit a application last quarter for County Route 30 that we did not receive. I did receive a few phone calls from KDOT representatives telling us that we should have continued to apply for that project, because some of them did feel that it was a high priority project. So we anticipate applying again for that. They just opened the window. So September 8th to October is, I think, the application window. So we are getting ready to write another grant for that. We did work on the base grant. You guys are aware of that situation. We did not receive it last quarter with economic development. The RAISE grant, we worked with the city, and KDOT, I'd reached out to KDOT to ask them to participate in a RAISE grant, and they ended up selecting the Centennial Bridge. I believe they applied for $25 million of funding for that, is what I was told. We did provide them a lot of information, and then worked well with the city of Leavenworth and Paul Kramer, and they provided them a lot of information as well, and connected them in with the fort in order to, and maybe I think the prison system, in order to add to that application with KDOT. Any questions on projects before I move
on that Centennial Bridge, I've been hearing it's all done deal.
It is done deal. It was apparently the only project that KDOT had under design. You have to either have a project under design or on the shelf for the RAISE grant funding. And so that project was the only project in KDOT that served a transportation disadvantaged area, which is a socioeconomic designation, I would guess you'd say, that's part of the U.S. Census data. And so it was the only one in the state of Kansas that was far enough along in the process towards construction that they could apply for funding. So it's going to be built either way. They can save $25 million if they and allocate that to other projects if they were to receive the RAISE grant. But Mark and I just met with their design firm at HDR last week, and that is anticipated, regardless of the RAISE grant, to be a 2026, 2027.
So what's the time? I've heard some different times. What's the time frame on
2026, 2027. They said anticipate starting construction in late 2026 with it going through 2027.
Okay.
And they did say that they would leave the existing bridge in place and build the new bridge probably on the north side of the existing bridge.
Okay. Long time coming. All right.
All right. So the surveying department, we did have a new county surveyor who started today. We're very excited to have him on board. Looking forward to being able to offer some of the services and continue on the township survey and some of the work that we had been doing in the past.
But you're excited about it too, huh?
Do what?
I bet you're really excited.
Yeah, I'm really
aren't you?
excited about it. I mean,
I had to read it twice to make sure it said we had hired.
Yeah, we do have. So yeah, I know. Super excited about getting a licensed surveyor on board. He's got well over 20 years experience
Congratulations.
in the private sector. So we're really excited about that. We'll get to it later, but the workload has not decreased. I know we talk a lot about the interest rate increasing and whether we're going to see building permits, but over the last quarter, and it's in part of the GIS information, but we did process 20 subdivision plats, and that's not accounting for all the boundary line adjustments or certificate of surveys or general surveys. So we're reviewing a lot of work through the survey department, which we didn't have. And so the amount of work that he can help take off the plate so we can do other things is going to be pretty substantial. But yeah, 20 subdivision plats were mapped in the last quarter. So they're still coming in at a pretty high clip, which is part of what the next section of billing for Olson, who serves as our county engineer, contracted, and they've been doing some of the surveying, reviewing, and processing, has stayed at or below budgetary levels. It has not spiked too terribly. There was an increase because of the subdivision and survey reviews, but I'd say that it's pretty acceptable for the amount of work that they do, and it has really stayed below the budgetary levels we'd set. And we're still way below where we were when I came on 2.5 years ago. Fleet management has continued to bid and purchase machinery. Obviously, we had the 2 bids today that we wrote the specifications for, and Frank coordinated. He's done a very good job of keeping on top of everything. We've had some issues with ordering vehicles, especially. You can have an order in the queue with Enterprise, and we've had some of them, not to Enterprise's fault, but just from the manufacturing, you can't get to stay in the system because they get kicked back because they're only building so many vehicles. So getting vehicles and having them processed and getting them out and pushing them and getting them to stay on schedule has been something he's done a very good job with, and he continues to install the GPSs or get those installed and coordinate all of the upfitters and all the different signs and all the different stuff that is put into a vehicle and have those delivered. The GIS department, as you can see here, they've done a lot of really good work, but I would say that the thing I'd really like to point out that they have worked extensively on is the redistricting, and working with Janet Klasinski in her office in order to make sure that the voter lists and all the Excel spreadsheets with all the address points are accurate, because we have state offices that split townships and split voter districts.
Yeah.
And so, if you're living in Fairmount Township, for instance, you might vote for one county commissioner race, one Senate race, and one House of Representatives race. So in order to organize all that, the GIS department, specifically SOMA, created a lot of Excel spreadsheets and really a lot of mapping in order to help facilitate Janet making sure that everybody's getting to the right voting ballot. Done.
All righty. Any
Excellent.
questions?
No, I just got a comment.
Go ahead, Doug.
It's at the very first, where we had 44,000 tons of rock. That's all pretty much out of local service, correct?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah, for the most part, that's out of local service. And that's where we've always been lacking. Our local service budget runs out of money every year. It hasn't never supported itself, I'd say, since the counties took over the townships in 1973. I don't think it's ever supported itself.
No. Yeah,
We ran out of money as early as July, as late as September.
Yeah.
But it has never supported itself. Ever. You can go back through the history. So, when we're talking about we have to have a slight increase in local service.
Yep.
We've kicked the can down the road. I don't say we have. Well, I guess we have too.
Yeah, we have
The can
too.
has been kicked down the road, and that's why all
Yep.
these bridges that you're seeing being done right now. If it wasn't for the Minnesota bridge collapse, we wouldn't have been as far along as we were, because when we started having to do the biannual inspections and all that,
All the problems.
we were just, nobody likes to spend the money on a bridge from one spot. They'd rather spread it out over the whole township.
Something has to
We're
be
playing
done.
catch up. That's all there is to it. And if you don't get caught up, you're just going to get further behind.
Agreed. Any other comments for Mr. Bill? Thank you, sir.
Well,
All right.
Bill.
Thanks, guys.
Good job. Okay, Doug, you want to take us?
Oh, okay. We ready to?
Yeah.
Is that where we're at? I was reading through all the bill stuff.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I move that this board recess from open session and go into a closed executive session to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel as justified by KSA 75-4319B1 and to protect the privacy interest of the persons involved, and that this board resume open session in the meeting room at 10:30. Present in the executive session will be Commissioner Jeff Culverson, Vicki Cos, Doug Smith, Mike Stephen, and County Administrator Mark Lawfrey, and others as invited by the board.
Second.
Motion and second. Commissioner Cos?
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
Commissioner Culberson?
Let the record show the board returned to regular session at 10:30. No action was taken. No decisions were made. The subject was limited to non-elected personnel.
Very good. Okay, next item is additional public comment. Now look in the audience. Mark, do you have anything before I ask the commissioner? Okay, let me see. Vicki, start with you.
Okay, well, let's see, last Friday, I believe it was Friday, I had a NECAP, which is the Early Head Start and Head Start Board of Directors meeting, and Board of Directors meeting, and we just kind of went over the end of the year stuff, and everything's going well for that for Leavenworth, and they will be having board training here next month, and here in half an hour I will be having the Kansas City Area Transit Authority meeting. Went and attended the City of Leavenworth meeting last evening, and did the what meeting last week? The
Adult. You did the adult.
Adult Advisory Board meeting for community corrections.
All right, you had enough. Moving right along, Doug.
I also attended the JCAB meeting last Thursday. Jamie will be here next week, I believe, right, for her report.
I think it's next week. We had to reschedule.
Yeah, so there'll be a lot of information
Okay.
we've gleaned from that meeting. Will be on her report, I'm sure. I got Baser. I don't think I'll make Baser or Fairmount tonight because of the fair going on. Probably going to skip the meetings. And attended Mr. Hempel's funeral.
Yeah. Miss him being in the back.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike?
Just talking to a lot of people, booth at the fair,
Good. Jeff?
Carnival Bar.
I don't have anything this week.
Yeah,
so to
nothing?
speak.
Okay, Jeff has done. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second. Commissioner Cos?
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens?
Aye.
Commissioner Culberson? Thank you. We are adjourned.